This is Linda Bayvoda for the record.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this very warm Wednesday afternoon.
Mute button.
It's the notice.
Audio's mute. Currently unmuted.
Is the notice posted?
Yes, I did verify that today.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm just unmuting. This is Wendy.
Wendy, could you go ahead and take a roll, please?
Yes, this is Wendy Thornley for the record. Evander Davis,
Here.
Vicky Esner, Mary Evilsizer,
Here.
Dee Dee Formaster, Jennifer Kane. What was that? I didn't quite hear what that was. Okay, Sabra McWhirter Clark.
Saber is excused today?
Yes.
Oh, that's right. Raquel O'Neill is also excused. Is that correct?
No, she's here.
Oh, she is here. Sorry. Obioma officer. Kate Ostie. Cheyenne Pasquale.
Cheyenne will be right back.
Okay, thank you. And Renee Portnell is excused absent. Ace Patrick.
Present.
Thank you. Linda Vigoda.
Linda here.
Julie Weissman Steinbach.
Here.
And Peter Whittingham.
I'm here.
Thank you. And yes, we have quorum.
Great. Before we start public comment, I'm going to ask Dawn to read something that's required on the day.
Before I do that, I just wanted to mention in the chat, Jennifer Kane says she is here and she didn't hear her name called.
Thank you very much. This is Wendy.
Okay. What phone number is that? Who's calling in from the 0812 number?
That's Mary Evilsizer, but I'm already in.
Oh, I just heard feedback and noise coming from there. I wasn't sure if you were able to mute. It may be because you're on an iPhone and on another line that it's getting feedback.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll take care of that.
Thanks. Okay, so agenda item number 2, public comment. No action may be taken upon a matter raised under public comment period unless the matter itself has been specifically included on an agenda item, as an action item. To provide public comment telephonically, dial 1-253-215-8782 in the US in Tacoma. When prompted to provide the meeting ID, enter 929-904-1434. The password for phoning in is 707401. Comments will be limited to 5 minutes per person. Persons making comment will be asked to begin by stating their name for the record and to spell their last name and provide the secretary with written comments.
Is there any public comment?
I do not see any hands raised.
Okay, good. Moving right on. Item number 3. Did anyone have any corrections to our meeting minutes? April 5th at 6. Can somebody make a motion to approve the minutes?
Audio now unmuted.
This is Raquel O'Neill for the record. I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I second.
All in favor?
Third space.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, motion passed. Item number 4, nomination and annual election of sub-officers. I'm gonna turn this over to Dawn.
Thank you. This is Dawn Lyons for the record. I would like to make some nominations, and then I would like to open up the floor for any other members to make any other nominations if they so choose. I would like to nominate Julie Weissman Steinbach for another term being chair. I would like to nominate Havander Davis for another term as vice chair, I should say. And I would like to nominate she did give me prior approval and she is excused absent today, but Saber McWhirter for secretary. And I would like to nominate Ace Patrick as the treasurer. Are there any other nominations for any of those positions?
Do we need those nominations seconded individually or as a?
Well, it's just if you agree with those nominations, we can have a motion made to elect those officers. Or if someone has another nominee that they'd like to mention, we can take a separate vote on that position or positions.
This is Member Peter Whittingham. I second those nominations.
Let me just clarify, this is Dawn Lyons. Peter, are you making a motion to approve of the elections for those nominations mentioned?
Yes, I thought the wording was if they're nominated, they are seconded as a nomination, but.
I can't make a motion because I'm not a member, so.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay, I thought you were. In that case, then, yes, I moved that we adopt the recommendation made by Dawn Lyons, as Executive Director for the elected position as stated in her recommendation.
Any second?
For the record, this is Mary Evilsizer. I second the nominations and I second the motion.
All in favor?
Audio now unmuted alert.
Aye.
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 Anybody against?
Aye.
Was there so I heard someone say that they're against, is that we didn't have any, you didn't allow for any discussion. Was there some discussion that needed to be had?
What was that?
This is Ace. Was that an aye for against, or was that just a late coming unmuted aye for?
It was a late one, Ace. I'm
That's
sorry.
what I was thinking. I was thinking it was a late unmuted.
Yeah,
I thought you
I was
got
trying to
caught up
do-
with against, and so
that's what I
I
thought.
wanted clarification. Thank you very much.
I'm for you. I'm for you. Okay.
So it is-
Oh,
This
this
is
is Basically, no worries. I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't a late aye for approval, or if it truly was an aye for against.
So if this is Don Lyons, it sounds like it's unanimous for the officers.
Yay.
Julie is chair again, Havander is vice chair again, Sabra as secretary, and Ace Patrick as treasurer. Congratulations on the new officers and for the continuing ones.
Yeah, and
Wonderful.
congratulations, and thank you, Commander, for sticking with us.
Well, thank you all, and congratulations to our new members and our new officers. Should be a great year.
Yes. Okay, so number 5. We don't have any new members at this time. But is there anyone, is there any non-member who wants to express interest in joining our wonderful group? Don't squeak it well, squeako. Okay. We're gonna move on to number 6. Is Cody here?
Yes, I am here. This is Cody.
Can you please give us an update on the Youth Action Council?
Absolutely. Thank you, Julie. Yeah, this is Cody Butler, the current youth leader for the Youth Action Council. I'd like to start and give a brief physical description of myself. I'm a white man with a shaved head and shaved face. I've got like a white polo on, headphones. There's like a blue wall behind me and some brown curtains. I use he, him pronouns. And all right, so there's been a lot of changes with the Youth Action Council recently, and some things are a bit up in the air, but I can update you on where things are now. I will be wrapping things up as youth leader in the coming month, with my last official day in the position being August 4th. Don and I had begun training an individual to be the next youth leader in the last few weeks, but after a lot of thought, we have decided to really renovate this staff position and the overall approach to youth engagement in independent living here in Nevada. So what this means is the current youth leader position as it stands now will be closed in the near future, and the responsibilities covered by the youth leader will be rolled into a new position with the tentative title of Youth Outreach Specialist. This position will open at a later date pending grant funding. And the goal here is to give that staff position more responsibilities and more hours, which I think is really needed for the Youth Action Council moving forward. So in the next month, before my departure and before I move out of state, I will be drafting some policies for the Youth Action Council and the SILC, solidifying youth membership in the council and age limits and things of that sort. And I'll also be attending NICL at the end of this month, the NICL conference in Washington, DC. But that's about sums up kind of where the Youth Action Council is right now. There's lots of changes. Things will be on pause for a little while in the absence of a staff member. But if you have any questions or concerns, I'd be happy to take them. You could also reach out to me like outside of this meeting. We can talk about it too. So thank you for listening.
I know I said this last meeting, But
Question?
I really, I know I said this last meeting, but I really want to commend you, Cody, for where we've come in the quick year you've been with us. And we're gonna miss you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Julie.
Ace, I see your hand up.
Yeah, hi, this is Ace, for the record. I also want to just say, Cody, thank you so much for your service on the Youth Action Council. For anyone who has not been keeping up with the newsletters that Cody has been writing, I really encourage the SILC members to go on our website, find those. I know Cody sends them out, read them. They have been excellent, well written. The topics that you've chosen, Cody, have been just on point. And I want to thank you again for your service. I'm going to miss you on so many levels. And I wish you well in your new home state. And I certainly look forward to seeing what you're going to do in independent living and with your work moving forward. So thank you again.
Thank you, Ace. This is Cody. I'll miss you too. We'll keep in touch.
Any other comments on the Youth Action Council update?
A question, this is Peter.
Yeah.
Cody, with the changes that are being made or planned, is there avenue for the board or board members to contribute input, review, approve, or what's the process for finalizing the new plans for the youth council? What role the board members will play in the finalization of the revision of the new plans?
So Don and I are handling the changes with like the staff position. Youth Action Council members can contribute to sort of like Youth Action Council policies. And the Youth Action Council won't be gone. People can continue Youth Action Council activities like without a staff member. But I think without a staff member, a lot of the activities and plans will be really like on pause until the staff member is able to kind of help run things in the back end. Does that answer your question?
Not completely, and maybe
Let me
maybe
jump in. Peter, I love how the George, do you want to jump in?
Yes, thank you. This is Dawn Lyons. Just to clarify, Peter, the position that we'd like to work on isn't set yet. It's not completed. It's not something that we know exactly what that'll look like or how many hours yet. It will be based on some future potential grant funding that we don't know if we're going to have at this time. So, but we do hope that within fiscal year, federal fiscal year 24, we will know that. And so it won't be longer than a year that we have something in place.
Okay. Thanks, Cody.
Thank you, Peter. It's a good question.
Hi, this is Dee Dee Formaster for the record. We'll still have our youth organization down here in Carson. We'll still be doing youth activities. So, along with our support group and our recreation programs. So anyway, I want you to know it's gonna keep on going. Keep on, keep on.
Excellent. This is Cody. Happy to hear, Dee Dee.
Any other comments, questions?
Yeah, hi, this is Ace again. Cody, did you mention that you were, that the age requirements, you were thinking of changing those? Or can you expand on that a little more, please?
Yes, this is Cody. It's still up in the air. Things aren't solid yet. I believe Don will have more updates for you at the next quarterly meeting. But we were thinking of having separate age limits for council membership and for the staff member. My thought was it would be okay if the staff member was a little bit older. But again, nothing's solid yet. We'll be drafting policies in the coming month.
Okay, this is Ace again. Okay, I guess I have a few concerns about that, but I mean, it's not up to me. I just letting you know, I have concerns about somebody who is much older leading a youth action council when the age goes down to like 12. And while I understand, but at the same time, if we're truly talking about youth, then it seems to me that that should be the focus even for that paid position. And that need to be cautious about those age limits. I guess I mean, Don and I have gone through that in the past. But that's just my biggest concern, that if you increase that age beyond 32, that would be a worrisome for me.
Dawn?
Thank you. This is Dawn Lyons. Just to clarify, Ace, Cody and I had some in-depth discussions about the talks that we had when we set up our original youth action or youth leader position way back when you were chair. And I did explain, the importance behind our decision in the past and why we made that choice. We've just experienced some extreme challenges with recruiting a new youth leader that's within that age range. And so we were considering expanding it just a little bit, but we're still, like Cody said, he's still considering that. He still needs to talk to the Youth Action Council about it too. So I don't think it's going to be something drastic necessarily as far as the change goes, but we may need to just open it up just a tad more, just so that we can allow for, people who have the leadership skills and the ability to perform the position, and yet still may be a little bit more youthful than an adult who would be on the SILC, if that makes sense.
Yeah, this is Ace. Yeah, thanks. I mean, I'm well aware of that. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but I still am going to voice my concerns about doing that. I know that it's hard, but it's hard to get SILC members, period. So it's hard for anything, especially, but if you're opening it up for more hours in a paid position, then maybe that will change, being able to find somebody within those age limits that actually still is a young person and a youth and not an adult, or what we would consider an adult. So I just, like I said, I'm just voicing my concerns. That's all. It goes with some experience with some other things. So, but I hear you.
I think what I'm going to suggest is that we put this on the agenda for next meeting so that we can have a really in-depth conversation about the concerns
This is Dawn Lyons. It will be on the next agenda because they'll be incorporated into new policies that we're including based on our state plan. Because it's one of our goals is to have those Youth Action Council policies in our policy and procedure manual. So we need to get that in, and that's why Cody was going to work on that.
Okay, wonderful. I think if there's nothing else, we're gonna move on.
Julie, can I make a suggestion? This is Peter.
Yes, sure.
And it's in line with the points that Ace was making. And so maybe I should just clarify and maybe add to my original question. And with the YAC being such a integral part of SILC, and we had Cody who done such a fantastic job and leaving, if there's going to be a modification to the policy and recommendation as to format, should that be with involvement of the board in its draft form as opposed to just at the approval form? And so some of the concerns that we have as board members can be considered and be added to as much as possible to the draft form. And with Cody as the outgoing leader of that team, certainly make some recommendations based upon his experience and others as well. But it may be good to have a team of board members who are, whether it's a committee to revise or whatever, but to have some input to draw from before it becomes before it comes as an agenda item to approve or disapprove.
Thank you. This is Dawn Lyons. I don't believe we need to create another subcommittee and have an agendized meeting in order to discuss this. I think the Youth Action Council can make the final decision. However, I do agree that SILC members should have as much input as they'd like. And if you have an opinion, to please reach out to Cody and let him know that opinion, or me. And, we'll talk about that behind the scenes, and we'll try to incorporate as much as we can based on what information we get from our members. Do you agree with that, Cody?
This
Yes, I
is
do.
Linda. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. This is Linda Vivoda for the record. I would like to know where you're posting the availability to be a youth leader through the SILC. Have you did it at the colleges where there are young people that are studying for that type of thing, or the churches around the community where they might be interested? Because I know there's a lot of youth that are training in college for that type of situation to be able to lead.
You want to take that, Cody?
Yes.
And then I'm gonna make that the last comment. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, this is Cody. I have reached out to some colleges. I've not had much luck. I think for probably a variety of reasons with getting the position really, I think, recognized with them. I have not reached out to many of the local churches either. I would, if you have some places in mind, some local churches in mind, I would love to have like a list of places. I also want to say, thank you, Ace and Peter, for your concerns. I appreciate those concerns too.
And can I just say, we should be reaching out.
This is Ace. Cody, could you please, just for the members, please put your contact information in chat? So if anybody wants to email you or reach out to you to chat with you, they can do that.
Julie.
Absolutely.
Julie Wise, for the record. I would reach out to all religious organizations, not just churches. Since we're a state organization, just want to get that in there.
Thank you. Just one last thing. I was going to just let everybody know that we have done outreach for the youth leader position at many different avenues. But if you have suggestions, like Ace said, reach out to Cody and myself and let us know your ideas. Again, just to make it very clear, these policies will have to be approved by the SILC and we will have discussion on them further at the next meeting. They don't just automatically get put into our policies without your approval. So, but if you have, ideas before then and you feel really strongly about something and you reach out and let us know, we will definitely take that into consideration and bring it to the next meeting for sure. Thank you.
Okay. We're going to move on to we're going to move on to number 7. Is there anyone here from NCIL?
This is Dawn Lyons. Just so you know, I looked through the participants and I don't see anybody who could represent NCIL at this time. So we might have to skip them.
Okay, so Mary, you're up.
Thank you, Julie. And I'd like to start by saying good afternoon to everyone. And then Julie, congratulations again on being published. We're so proud of you. Wonderful. You're welcome. As a reminder, I am Mary Evilsizer. I'm the executive director for the Southern Nevada Center for Independent Living. And the Southern Nevada Center for Independent Living covers one county and one county only, and that is Clark County. Our sister center, NNCIL, covers the remaining 16 counties here in Nevada. And we are the 2 centers for independent living that are certified through the Administration for Community Living under the Department of Health and Human Services. Okay, that being a mouthful, I'll start with my report. During this last quarter, we processed a total of 830 INR calls. As we discussed last time, the Medicaid benefits were sunsetting, a lot of them that had been with us throughout the pandemic. And a lot of our calls were about food resources. We have put together some lists of food banks and other food resources for our consumers here in the Valley or in Clark County. In addition, we had a total of 99 new intakes. And the services requested this quarter were, last time we reported, we had about 70% for housing requests, and this time it's gone up by 11%. We have 81. And then again, with the housing market here in Clark County, it is just becoming leaner and leaner, the ratio between affordable and accessible housing available compared to the number of individuals with in our community with individuals with disabilities that need the housing are becoming non-existent. We're having right now situations where we do have individuals that we would like to transition out of nursing homes but we are faced with the barrier that we can't locate affordable or accessible housing for them. Other data, 67% of our consumers requested advocacy, legal, and finance services. We work a lot on helping individuals tap into and access the benefits that they are eligible for. We do have an eligibility assessment. We call it benefits counseling. And then we also provide assistance in helping individuals apply for everything they qualify for. 6% requested assistive technology. Usually we make those referrals to Care Chest. If they're minor items that they need right away and they can't wait, we go ahead and try to find other resources that can take care of them right away. Usually it's an immediate need. 13% requested IELTS skills training and life skills training, and 4% requested coming in peer counseling services. 17% requested what we call preventative services. Preventative service is a service that an individual needs to prevent them from going into an institution, which might be a nurse home or any other type of institution where they're not allowed to live as independently as they could if they have the services out in the community. 31% requested transportation services. We do assist individuals to assess the resources in our community and to assess what is the best fit for them. We do help individuals process paratransit applications. Also, we help individuals go through the appeals process with paratransit services. Also, we help individuals who may be having problems with paratransit where there are some issues coming up where maybe paratransit isn't as timely as they could have been to get someone to a vital appointment. 5% of the requests were for vocational services for individuals looking for employment. And then 3% were for youth transition services, where we provide guidance, support, and information on either post-secondary education or guidance towards getting employment. That is the data end of our report. On other subject matter, we did attend, generate, and facilitate several outreach functions. And then coming up in the future, we have an outreach function that we're going to have out in Mesquite at the public library. And the additional outreach function we're going to be having is our Disability Awareness Day. Its annual Disability Awareness Day is scheduled for October 7th, 2023. It's again on a Saturday, again the same time from 10 until 2. We do have our marketing materials out. We have started distributing. So that's going to be our outreach for the upcoming quarter. In addition, we continue with our social media, Facebook, Twitter, then with our website. And we are continuing with our COVID-19 vaccine campaign. The Disability Awareness Day on October 7th, that will be the final wrap up of our vaccine campaign. Again, once again this year, it is going to be Disability Awareness Day along with our final vaccine clinic. And with that, we're hoping that the resources in our community, which we are really proud of the Southern Nevada Healthcare District, I think they're doing an amazing job in trying to get individuals vaccinated and reaching out to communities where they live. So we feel that they can carry on at this point. we are here should we be needed for anything with COVID-19, but we're feeling more comfortable at this time. In addition, I would like to report, and Julie, I haven't forgotten about you. You had asked that we give you copies of our youth scholarship essays, and I am getting those to you. We are now rapidly moving forward. Cody, when you go to the Nickel Conference, you will be able to see our youth scholarship winners. And again, we want to thank the SILC again for sponsoring a youth scholarship. Cody, like you, we're trying to get youth involved and help them to learn how to train for a leadership role in the disability community. That is critical and vital right now if we're going to remain a force to be reckoned with in the future. We really have to start working with our youth and saying, you too can have the opportunity to work at your, for your SILC. You can work at your CIL. You can work with some of the state departments, county. We need leaders in there that will provide a voice for the disability community. And the last portion of my report, our PPR, that's a performance annual report with the Administration for Community Living has been approved. So we will be sending a copy to the SILC as we do every year. And with that, I do want to thank you for your time and thank you for listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mary?
Audio now.
This is Raquel O'Neill for the record.
Go ahead.
Hi, Julie, thank you. Just a couple of questions, Mary. You had mentioned that there was another outreach event that you're planning besides the Disability Awareness Day on October 7th. Could you state a little bit more about that? And it said it's at a library. Do you have the date and the time for us to promote it?
You know what? I can get that to you. It's actually part of Clark County is Mesquite. And we are partnering with the library, with the healthcare organization to provide resources that are available. So I will certainly get that information to you, and I can get it to Wendy to share with everybody else. But thank you for your interest in that. And then again, the other one is just our regular annual Disability Awareness Day on October 7th.
Okay, great. And the other question that I had for you is about the information you provided is great. You talk about people requesting and the percentages of people requesting. So it sounds like you guys are really, really busy. The intakes sound great, but actual services that are being provided, like when you mentioned that 13% requested independent living or life skills training, what happens with those? Like, are they assigned to people that you have on staff who provide the training, or are they referred elsewhere out into the community? How does that work?
Okay, that works that we don't have outside resources to refer for IL skills training. When we have someone to come to the center, they can come in, they can say, okay, I'm here for housing. Or they can come in and they can say, okay, I'm here, I need IL skills training. I need to learn how to use the computer at the library. We don't have, we could, and we are working on that, but have resources out in the community. Usually they're assigned to one of our, we call them independent living coordinator advocates. And in a situation like that, we would find out what library they are closest to. Then they would come in and we would work with them either by phone or on site if they choose, or set up a time to meet with them at the library. And then we do a one-to-one. A lot of the IL skills training that we do have is individuals wanting to learn basics, like we get requests where they come in and they want to learn how to ride the bus. In that instance, we have an excellent working relationship with Jim Shampoo at the Regional Transportation Commission, so we refer them. And then we not only refer, but once we work with an individual, they write up their own goal. They develop their own goal, and then we would make the referral. But we follow through with the individual from the beginning of the goal to the end of the goal. We don't get a lot of requests for personal grooming and hygiene or home care, homekeeping. A lot of that we count on Medicaid to work with those kinds of goals.
Okay, so it's mostly referral, resource and referral is what you do with the
Yes.
requests. Okay.
Yes, and connecting, right.
Connecting. And then my final question, thank you for that. And my final question was just about the housing crisis. What you mentioned was, I think, really, really important. And I wanted to just emphasize how difficult I think we're all finding it, right, for this housing crisis that we're in. And to say that the state still has to continue to pay thousands upon thousands of dollars for somebody to stay in a nursing home versus going to find appropriate independent living when they want to and can do so. It's just an atrocity to me. So is there anything that you have in mind as a Center for Independent Living that can be done? Is there anything that we all can do? What are your thoughts about the housing crisis? A little more.
The housing crisis is something that we're not in alone. It's something that it's not just indigenous to Nevada. However, it is that Nevada is, if you had us on a scale of the top 10, who provides the least affordable and accessible housing units to their citizens and their state, unfortunately, Nevada's in the top 10. What happened to us is what happened to everybody else.
Right.
We have
and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I get that. I'm more curious about like, hey, what are we gonna do now? Do you have any thoughts about what to do about it?
Yes, what we're going to do now is, and what we've been doing as a center, we belong to the Housing Coalition, and we feel that's the best group here in the Valley to take care of housing issues. During the legislative sessions last time, we all supported
Uh-oh. I don't know. Did I lose her?
abilities.
Oh, there
So
she-
that one almost made it through. It almost made it through. It didn't quite. And then the other item that we have is, as a community as a whole, we can encourage at the center. We work with ASI. That's let's see, what is ASI? I've been in the field so long. Anyway, their housing units. There's 11 complexes here in the city. They're designed for individuals with disabilities. Whenever we see opportunities, pardon?
Accessible spaces. ASI.
Yeah, ASI, yes. ASI has the housing units designed specifically for individuals with disabilities. We've had a couple of situations where we've been able to identify pockets of funding that they could apply for. And we just wrote another letter of support so that they could start up a new program here in the Valley.
Okay.
And what we can do as individuals is, if anyone that you know is moving out of an affordable or accessible unit, we keep lists at the center, but we're not the only ones. We work with the DD Council's list and try to identify different areas. But working together as a SILC, it's pertinent that we just stay on top of what is available. And I can tell you, when there's new units that are being built, there's already a waiting list. That's but that's always been that way.
Thank you, Mary. I appreciate it. Thank you for the Housing Coalition information and ASI. Thank you.
All right, and I'll get you the Mesquite information. Thank you.
So
Thank you. This is Dawn Lyons, going in a little different direction here. I appreciate all your great information, Mary. I was just wondering, since you and Lisa work together so closely and she's not here today, do you have any idea when Pumpkin Palooza is scheduled for this year?
I probably can get you that right off. I'm going to Google it right now. It's always in October. That's, I don't know if they've gotten the schedule for it right away.
While you're doing that, just to give everyone a heads up, Dee Dee's gonna go next, and then I'm gonna get that to number 11 for Cheyenne's report. And then after Cheyenne, we'll take a 10-minute break. The,
How about, this is Dawn Lyons. How about if Mary, when, do you have a way to put that date in the chat if you find it? And that way Dee Dee can get started.
Yeah.
you read
Oh,
my,
sure. It's October 28th. October 28th.
Okay, thank you.
you read my mind.
I'm
That's
on
what
my phone.
that's what I was gonna suggest doing. Again, Dee Dee.
Hi, this is Dee Dee, Foremaster for the record. We have been very busy here. We opened an office in Elko. We hired someone out in that area to be able to open that center out there. We're working on vaccine for flu and COVID shots for the elderly and disabled populations. So we're going out, doing flyers for that particular area where the vaccine clinics are happening. And we're working hard in that direction. We also have a lot of INRs coming in. About 3/4 of them, of course, are about housing. And I'm swimming in the same pond as Mary. There is no low-income housing. I am discouraged in the respect that Jackie Rosen gave money to Southern Nevada, thank the Lord, for some housing down there. And they gave money to also the Washoe County area, but none in the rural areas at all. I know that there is a 120 unit development for workforce housing going in. Only 20% of that will be for low income folks, which would be people with disabilities. The rest of it is workforce, so you have to make a certain income level. The board here in Carson City at least took quite a bit of money and set it aside for low-income housing. But again, more than likely it will be workforce housing. I am going to start pushing very hard to get granny flat laws changed here in this county. And then hopefully it will spread to other rural counties to be able to build granny flats or use, like sheds that have been specially designed for housing. So tiny homes, so that people can place them in their backyards. I see that helping the disabled community with, yes, it's hard to believe, but diversified housing, which is what I'm shooting for. And it would also assist the elderly folks, which a lot of them here in the Carson City area are elderly, with their incomes also. So it's a win-win, situation. I am working with Health and Human Services, of course, in several of the rural communities, but I know here in Carson, they have started putting roommates together and renting 2 bedrooms because they're about the same price as a 1 bedroom. And so that's kind of the way they're filling the gaps in for low-income housing in this particular area. And we have been able to work with rural housing so that 2 people who have vouchers can live in the same place and rent out a bedroom. So I suspect that it's going to probably transition to other rural counties. I'm working with Mary Jo at Health and Human Services here in town to try and get that started. We're working also on a volunteer fair, which is going to be Friday, where all of us who have resources are gathering together to hopefully recruit some people who are out there and would like to volunteer but are afraid to leave their homes due to the COVID situation. So hopefully we'll be able to get them moving in the volunteer area. So I guess that's about it. Housing's still an enormous problem, not only here, but in Elko also.
Thank you, Didi. Any questions for Didi?
This is Ace. Hey, congrats on your new satellite center, Didi. That's really awesome news. And really good news too about people with vouchers being able to share an apartment together. I think that's what's going to have to even happen here in Washoe, because honestly, my rent, I'm on housing, and my monthly rent, they're going to double my monthly rent in my apartment, and it makes many of us worried about whether or not we can even continue to afford to live in our low-income senior housing, or whether or not we're being priced out of our apartments, even on housing. So it's concerning to me, in the housing. I know a lot of us have been working on housing and talking to people until we're blue in the face here, and it's discouraging, but it's good to hear that they're allowing people with vouchers to live to share, an apartment. I just think it truly is. I mean, my apartment for my little tiny 1 bedroom is almost as much as my friend who's renting a 2 bedroom apartment and she's on Section 8 in Reno and I'm in Sparks. So it's unreal to me how that's happening. But anyway, thanks to both you, Mary, for your hard work along those lines and the continuing fighting for housing for people with disabilities and elders and trying to get people transitioning them out of nursing care facilities and helping those of us who are in apartments stay where we are instead of being priced out of our own low-income house, which it's just a travesty. So thank you so much.
Well, I have to say that what's terribly sad is still the fact that so many people with disabilities are living in horrible housing conditions with bed bugs, cockroaches, and everything else, because we have to take the housing that is cheap, because that's all rural housing will afford for you to be able to get. And it's all they can afford with their Social Security. And no one should have to live in the conditions that most people with disabilities have to live in. That's my thing. If you're gonna raise the rents, well, what are you doing to get rid of the situation of leaky pipes, cockroaches, and bed bugs? I mean, what are you doing to improve your complex if you're going to jack up my rent? I mean, that's really the way that I feel. And I still feel that, people with disabilities are second-class citizens because of the horrible housing conditions we're forced to put people in. And it's just a travesty. It's horrible. Horrible. All right, enough of my soap opera.
Dawn.
Thank you. This is Dawn Lyons. Julie, I was going to ask permission to invite Autumn, the Aging and Disability Regional Representative, to give us some information since we're on the topic of housing instead of waiting until public comment. Would that be okay if she did that now?
Yes, it's okay. Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I was just messaging Dawn on the side here. My name's Autumn Blattman. I'm the regional coordinator for aging and disability for the Washoe County region. But the three of us regional coordinators have been looking into some housing related issues as well. And we have two conferences that we're looking at. So I just wanted to let the group know that there are two conferences related to housing coming up. One of them is here in Reno. It's the annual conference to end homelessness. That's August 15th and 16th, I believe. And then there's another conference in Las Vegas for the annual housing conference, which is October 11th and 12th, I believe. Might be the 10th and 11th, but it's that time frame, somewhere around there. So I just wanted to let you all know, since we're talking about housing being such a huge issue in our state, it might be a good opportunity for some of the SILC members to attend. Thank you, Dawn and Julie, for letting me speak.
Thank you for sharing. Cheyenne, we're ready for you. And then we'll go back.
Okay, thank you for your grace in rearranging the agenda. I wasn't sure if we were going to get to my agenda item today, and I'm not going to be able to make it tomorrow. So I will try to keep this quick. So in terms of the Olmsted plan, we're moving along nicely with the Olmsted plan. We're working on finalizing the critical issues and really are going to start in this month to begin drafting the goals, objectives, and strategies to address those critical issues. And that work will happen with the steering committee throughout July and August. And then after that, the final section that we have to develop is the accountability section. And that will be drafted in August and September. After that, the draft plan will be distributed publicly throughout October. And then our final plan will be published in November. The critical issues that have been identified, and this is based on the survey that was conducted by UNR, the outreach that has been conducted by Social Entrepreneurs Inc., data that has been provided, etc. And we've got 5 critical issues. And I'm going to just kind of summarize them real quickly. So the first is the need to center on inclusion and accountability, which is really focusing on integrating the disability community into every aspect of the ADSD service system. The second one is improve knowledge sharing. So establish a clear, complete, and accessible method of information sharing about services, eligibility requirements, application processes, and grievance procedures. The third is to prioritize ADSD workforce supports. So really looking at assessing the ADSD workforce, identifying barriers to employment, and also looking at increasing training related to topics such as Olmstead, person-centered planning, and promoting community integration. The fourth critical issue is focus on data collection and continuous quality improvement. So establishing some standard data collection efforts across all ADSD programs and services. And then the fifth critical issue is to develop a statewide solution. This is really around ADSD advocating and coordinating and facilitating, if necessary, multidisciplinary planning groups to address the needs of individuals. So those are the critical issues. And so taking those critical issues, the assets and gaps, all of the data collected so far will lead to, like I said, the goals, objectives, and strategies. And I'll pause there real quickly and ask if Julie, since she's a member of the steering committee, if she wanted to expand on anything or make any comments about the Olmstead plan for the group.
No, I think you covered all of it.
Okay. As a reminder, and I can pull up the website and put it into the chat. Social Entrepreneurs has been posting materials throughout the process, so you can access materials at any time. And they still have the public comment form on their website that people can submit public comments or questions throughout the process. So the second topic was our No Wrong Door governance grant. So last time I mentioned that we have contracted with the Nevada Center for Excellence in Disabilities to help complete the assessment and facilitate our steering committee. They now have their staff on board and are really beginning to look at what the assessment of access points will look like based on the guidance that we've received from the Administration for Community Living. So they're really designing their project plan now that they've got their staff on board. And our target to officially kick off the project steering committee is September of this year. So we'll be looking at some dates with the steering committee on that. And just as a reminder, our two major goals with this grant is to assess access points from the federal indicators standpoint, and then develop a plan for continued No Wrong Door system efforts, which includes the ongoing governance structure. I'll pause there. Are there any questions on the no wrong door? Okay. The Office of Community Living was another topic. So ADSD has begun to restructure 2 units within the agency that do similar work. Currently, that's the community-based care unit and the planning, advocacy, and community services. And we're looking at restructuring these 2 units into what we are calling the Office of Community Living. Currently, this is why can't I speak? Currently, we have only made structural changes. We haven't made programmatic changes. And this is really grouping our entire team into 4 sections. So the first section is what we're calling intake and operations. So this is intake services for our home and community-based waivers for the frail elderly and the physically disabled, as well as intake for the taxi assistance program and the senior and disability RX programs. This section also oversees the operations components of the waiver programs. The second section is our supportive services section, which is really the case management for the waivers, as well as the COPE program, which is Community Options Program for the Elderly, and the PAS program, the Personal Assistance Services Program, and the Communication Access Services Program falls under that. The third section is our Community Services section, which is really our subaward team. And they're the ones that oversee all of the various programs and services that are provided in the community through community partners and through subawards. And then finally is the planning section, and that section is the section that is over our No Wrong Door system efforts, supporting our councils and commissions, our community engagement team, which is the Nikki Haig and our regional coordinators, our data and reports. The SILC lives, the SILC staff live under the planning section, and Nevada 211. The goal of aligning these 2 units is really to align efforts across state and federal programs that support people with disabilities, older adults, and family caregivers through home and community-based services. As we look towards this goal and looking at operational and programmatic changes, we will be engaging further with our advocacy bodies and our stakeholders to really help inform our efforts. So that's kind of, we haven't done an official press release yet. That will be coming out, but we do have, we have added a page to the ADSD website that provides a little bit more information about the programs and services that fall under each section. And I can put the link into the chat for the group. It's a work in progress, but we're looking forward to this restructuring, and then really what we can do with the community to really help strengthen our community living efforts. So I'll pause there and see if there's any questions. I'm going to skip the updates on the ARPA funds for independent living because John is going to cover those in his updates. In terms of other news, there's just a couple of things that I wanted to mention at this meeting. ADSD applied for some additional under the Planning and Community Services team, we applied for some additional funding under Title 20 for supportive services for people with disabilities. And we received an approximately $1 million. So we'll be preparing a notice of funding opportunity to be able to offer sub-awards in the community geared specifically to people with disabilities. In preparing that notice of funding opportunity, we are going to be sending out a survey to our community, our advocacy bodies, et cetera, to help inform our priorities under that notice of funding opportunity. So we're really excited about this. And my goal is to get that survey out to the community by next Friday. Another exciting transition, I guess we could call it, is under the division of, oh, I see a hand up, so I'm going to pause there. Sorry, Dawn, I'm on a roll.
No, this is really great information. I was just curious, with the grant that you guys received, the $1 million approximately. I know you said you're sending a survey out to find out priorities. Are there parameters that were defined by ACL regarding that funding?
That's a good question. So this is actually not ACL funding. This is Title 20 funding, which is under the, all of a sudden I'm forgetting it. I believe it's under the Social Security Act. So there are some parameters, but it's pretty broad, I would say, so, which is nice. So what we're looking at with the survey is looking at some of our existing state plans and other efforts to gain community feedback to sort of create that shell for the survey, but making sure that we have opportunities for some open comments in terms of priorities and things like that. To help inform that notice of funding opportunity. Okay. Thank you, Dawn. So in the last session, the focus program, which is the facility outreach and community, oh gosh, it's at the acronym is FOCIS. But the focus program and the money follows the person grant, they previously lived under the Division of Healthcare Financing and Policy, and the legislature approved those two programs to transition to ADSD effective July 1. So where because ADSD is actively engaged with the populations that are served by this program, the state really can expect additional transitions from institutional care to home and community-based care. So it's really just aligning programming where engagement is already happening with these populations. The focus team has transitioned into the intake and operations section, and the money follows the person program has transitioned into the planning section. This is all very new, and we're very excited for the opportunities that we have to increase transitions and increase efforts to support people living in the community. So, and then my last thing is, I'm sure that there is a lot of interest in a lot of bills that were passed through the session, and our agency is kind of officially, I guess, kicking off our implementation efforts. So we are beginning to really dig into the bills that were passed and that impact our agency, and looking at what what we need to do to implement those new pieces of legislation. So I would say that if there are any specific pieces of legislation that the SILC is interested in, you can let me know. And I will make sure to get the appropriate representatives to the next meeting to provide updates. So. And I think that's what I wanted to highlight today. So I could probably talk for the whole 6 hours, but I thought these were some of the more important updates for today. So
Thank you, Cheyenne. Any last questions?
Julie, for the record, this is Mary Evilsizer. I'm on by phone and I don't know how to raise my hand. May I ask a question?
Yes, please, Mary.
Cheyenne, thank you for all of this information. Some exciting news. I have a question. Focus and money follows the person. One is in one department and one is in the other. Will those two programs be working together or will they be working separately?
no, they will be working together. They're all under the one team, which is the Office of Community Living. They are just in different sections at this point in time. But they will.
All right, and we know because, oh, go ahead. Focus just moved. Did they move to your West Sahara office?
They did.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any questions? Okay.
Okay, well, thank you guys so much again. And again, Julie, thank you for your flexibility in the scheduling today.
Thank you, Cheyenne. You're always informative. Okay, so we're going to take a 10-minute break. And my clock is different than Dawn's. So Dawn, what time is 10 minutes?
It's 2:26 p.m. So we'll reconvene at 2:36.
That's good. See you soon. Okay. Welcome back, everybody. We're going to go back up to number 8. And I'd like to ask Sean to give us an update. Sean, are you there? While we're waiting for John, Dawn, do you want to do number 9?
Sure, I can actually, this is Dawn Lyons for the record. I can actually go over number 9 very quickly because it's not, there's nothing really established yet. It was just an idea that John and I had been discussing. Oh, sorry, I heard myself echo and I thought someone else was talking. I spoke with John not too long ago about the need for independent living training throughout Nevada, whether it's for the state or for just our people with disabilities sometimes don't even know what independent living is. And it's a hard concept to wrap your head around if it's new to you. So we thought that it would be important for the SILC to create a formalized training. And this is something we've been kind of discussing way back years ago when we originally thought Colorado could come and help us with that. And Aging and Disability Services had agreed at the time to work with us and the Colorado SILC to provide a formal independent living training. Since then, Aging and Disability Services has gone through a lot of different changes in structure, and I think we fell through the cracks. And so rather than let this go, I'd like to just bring it up and have the SILC spearhead this effort and invite the AT Council to join us in providing some training in regards to assistive technology for our independent living training overall. And I thought I would like to ask the SILC if we would like to create some kind of a work group so that we can gather as much vital information and make it as clear as possible for people that don't know what independent living is, to help train them in whatever setting they might be in. That's accessible, and then bring this idea to the AT Council at their next meeting to ask if they would like to be a part of that work group to include assistive technology information.
John, would you like to chime in?
Hello, can everybody hear me? It's John Roseland.
Yeah, there you are.
All right, thank you. Sorry about that. I having technical difficulties, and if I use my computer, you can't hear me anyway, so I got to call in. We don't have a very good connection here in the Reno office. Anyways, thank you for your patience on that. Dawn, did you want to go over anything regarding the I've been listening to your update regarding independent living training. Is there anything more that you want to go over on that? The only clarification I have is regarding the Assistive Technology Council. It's really not going to be an Assistive Technology Council training. It would be a training through our AT Resource Center. That's where those resources occur and live, right? That's where training and technical assistance under the Assistive Technology Act belongs for systems change. So, and I think those are a good place for that to fit, because our goal in that assistive technology role as AT Resource Center, it is an informed consumer model, right? It's trying to change the model in which assistive technology is applied to individuals to where they're the decision maker and not a quote unquote professional making that decision. So there's a lot of crossover there that's really important. And just the manner in which we do services. Another part of what is independent living and the Independent Living Council's force is the AT for Independent Living program, which is, you know, although it has that more narrow, just essential daily living piece of it, trying to empower consumers is what we do there. And so I think there's a lot of benefit to having this discussion and providing, whether we call it training or education, either way, it is a good method of expanding further and educating more people and empowering people with disabilities to stand up for themselves and know that it's okay to have that control, which is a piece that sometimes is hard to articulate to people, and the importance of that, where we don't have other people making decisions for us. That's it. Thank you.
This is Dawn Lyons. Thank you, John, for that clarification. I completely misheard you and thought you were talking about AT Council, but it makes way more sense to go work with the AT Resource Center. So that does make more sense to me. And I guess I'm just looking for volunteers for a work group.
This is Ace. I'll volunteer to be on the work group.
Hey, thank you.
And I wanted, sorry, this is Dawn Lyons. I also wanted to say, anyone who's also not a council member, you may speak up if you're interested in being in that work group.
John Roseland, for the record, I certainly would be. So, if that wasn't already obvious, I would be.
Evander Davis, for the record, anything that has anything to do with assistive technology you can go ahead and count me in.
Great. Good. Anybody else?
Okay.
I think that's a good group to start.
I think it is too. This is Dawn Lyons. Thank you so much. I don't think we need any motions or anything. I think a work group is just going to get the ideas flowing, and we'll bring some ideas back to the SILC, and the SILC can make the final approval for the training or the education that whatever you want to call it. We'll figure that out too. So thank you, you guys. And then I guess you can turn it back over to John now that you're back online here. You can give your report for the IL.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna.
Perfect. I'll start off with another apology, and that's getting this data out at such a last-minute effort. We have not had access to these reports. They miraculously just kind of went offline and weren't available for the last several weeks. I think it was a bunch of uploads they were trying to do into the WellSky system to close out the state fiscal year. And in the interim, the only two that I really rely on were not available, which is like a terrible feeling that you can't look at your data. You can see the consumers and see what's going on a case-by-case basis, but the data, as I look at it from my 10,000-foot view, was not available. So hopefully everybody has that. I see Wendy had sent it out before the meeting. I know it's a lot of information, but it is very important stuff. I encourage people to look at it, and please email me directly if you have any questions or there's something that doesn't make sense to you. I know it's a lot of data, and I'll just go through a piece of it, pieces of it, excuse me, and highlight the main parts of it. So the first part is it's called the Assisted Technology for Independent Living Program. Been in Nevada for if I figure it right, dang near 30 years in some way or another. It's been called the Last Resort Program. It has been basically it was created to fill some gaps that existed. It was part of the original Olmstead plan. I think it was goal number 6 or 7 or impact number 6 or 7. These were providing options to people with disabilities to live in the community. The reason the program still exists is these gaps still exist. There's not a solid resource or resources that really address some of these things. And that's looking at just that essential daily living. Yes, there's things through Medicaid, Medicare that provide certain assistive technologies and do certain things. There's also the importance of personal care attendant services that play a part of that. But the real barriers that we have, there's not an option for you if you have an acquired disability or you have something else happen in life and your disability has become worse and you don't have an access way into your home or you require some type of vehicle modification or something. To remove those barriers, there's not an option. And I think people pretty well know that people with disabilities typically aren't in the highest of incomes. It's harder to find a job. It's harder to find work. There's a number of barriers there, and this is one of those areas that we're trying to fill and have been for a long time. So the overall report that was sent out covers 4 highlighted areas. Tried to break that down and explain that. That's the funding sources and uses, the consumer satisfaction and life impact. That's the satisfaction and life impact survey that we give the consumers after their goals have been closed out, after they agree that their plan has ended. And that we also do a survey that isn't in this report, and I'll go over to it a little bit when I get to that section. And then finally is the consumer services goals and closures. And lastly is the call information. That's like information and referral, but there's some good stuff that we look at when we look at those calls and the number of people that are accessing the program, and are we reaching people through our public awareness in an appropriate way? Are we getting consumers calling us? We don't want the happy next door neighbor calling us, right? We want the consumer to be engaged and involved. And so looking at that call data kind of tells us, are we doing, is our partner also engaging with people in that way that we're getting those types of calls. The last part is this data is based on your federal fiscal year. So it does go into your annual report to the Administration for Community Living. So we're looking at the data through the eyes of October of 2022 through current June 30th of 2023. Just jumping right to the section regarding funding. In the full report, I described both portions of the funding because we operate, the program operates on a state fiscal year, and of course your reporting's on a federal fiscal year. So there's two different breakdowns of how that budget looks. I have to live in both worlds. So I put down the 2023 budget because that technically ended the program as of June 30th for that year. And that funding was $1.6 million, actually $1,628,643. The breakdown of that was federal independent living funding through the SILC. It was part federal assisted technology, and there was a small portion of aging Title III money in there, about $14,000 helpful, and the remainder was state general fund, and that was $1.3 million. Going forward into 2024, so that's us starting off in July. We're in July right now, but I mean, that's when the project starts again. The partner for the next, potentially for the next 4 years is still CareChest. CareChest of Sierra Nevada has been a long time partner of our AT Collaborative and operating this program. The budget this year is already significantly less. And it's like a combination of things is the best way I can describe it. The current budget as it is right now is $1.4 million. It's about $172,000 less than it was a year ago. A portion of that is there's the reduction of the SILC. I'm assuming they're ready. Don had made us aware that we're going to be lowered by 35,000, so that's a reduction there. There's a slight increase in federal assisted technology funds, and then overall the state funding for the ATIL program was reduced oddly through the biennium by $7,000. I don't know why. Overall, we are still looking at getting the ARPA funds through ADSD. I think that's supposed to be $1.2 million. I don't have a specific end number for that, but that is to eliminate the wait list. Don, I see your hand up, so I'm going to pause right there.
Thank you. This is Dawn Lyons. I was actually just going to ask the question that you just answered. So I was just wondering how much was expected, and you said 1.2 million in ARPA funding. So that will definitely cover the 172,000 less than you got last year, correct?
Well, technically, if the $1.2 million, Cheyenne messaged me just a minute ago, that it's 1.2 million, and that's supposed to also, that number is going to include what the blind pilots, the blind services pilot program that's going to operate for a year. There's no defined amount that's going to be there. What I anticipate happening is we're going to go through the $1.2 million rather quickly with our wait list. We already, based on what we have right now and the estimated cost that we have right now, we're already $700,000 of a wait list. That makes it so. As of today, as of June 30th, we don't have 700,000, we're already $700,000 behind on the consumers we have right now. By the time that this program is through the next 12 months, right, next June of 2024, everybody that's applying today is going on the wait list unless they're prioritized. Unless they're at risk of going into a care facility, there's nothing we can do about it. So that $1.2 million, a portion of that's going to be used to address those people.
This is Dawn Lyons again. Thanks for that. So is it correct in my understanding then that the wait list will be covered first as a priority, and then what's left may be used towards a blind program?
Based on my update there, I think it's all one lump sum. I don't think that there's an idea of what is going to go into a blind services pilot program. It's just a number that I've been given, 1.2, and it's going to cover both of those.
Okay, thank you.
So, and I'm going to touch on the recommendation of a blind services program, which is what I've been working on as well. So I'll get through the independent living stuff, and then we'll touch base on that as well. Basically, I'm going to suck up the rest of your day. Just kidding.
I'm not gonna let you.
You guys will be putting me on mute, huh? So on the funding wise, there's one thing I was going to, one additional thing there, and that's CareChat secured an additional $300,000 to just address direct services. That's not built into this budget, although I did put it into the report. I did mention it in this full report, and I believe that's for 2 years. So I think that's going to be a total of $600,000 over 2 years. I didn't put that down in writing because I'm not 100% certain, but I believe it is. I'll follow up the next meeting or confirm that to you, Dawn, to get out to the SILC if that is. But that'll be a huge injection to address that. To kind of talk about what the wait list and what I expect will happen. I've been involved in this program for 20 years. And I've seen, been involved when there was a 3-year wait list and minimal funding. Not that an 18-month wait list is just as significant, and that's what we look at now. It's come a long ways, but in 20 years, it hasn't gone very far, right? We have people waiting 18 months for things that are technically essential to daily living. And unless it's a priority of where we're concerned you might end up in a care facility, we can't do anything about it. So that $300,000 makes a big shot in there. I kind of lost my train of thought. I apologize that where I was going with some of the services that we have done and those injections of funding. What I believe is going to happen, just got it. Sorry, guys. I just got my train of thought back. Is that when we start talking to people and we no longer have like a extended wait list, our wait list is probably going to look more like we're waiting for vendors and contractors. Building contractors are a premium right now, and this is just something we live through every time there's a housing explosion. So there's going to be delays still trying to get work done. But what's going to happen, I believe, is a lot of the people that go, well, you know what, I can't wait that long, and I'm going to have to figure something else out. We're going to see probably the number of consumers that start engaging into the program is going to go up, right? If I know there's not a wait list there, then I'm more apt to engage with it. Even though we encourage people to, like, if you don't have any options for yourself to accomplish this goal, you're not out anything waiting, right? The worst thing that could happen is you come up on the wait list, and we eventually have the funding available to help you. I think we're going to see a major uptick in people that are going to say, yeah, I'm willing to develop some independent living goals. I want to do that now because I don't see myself waiting that long. We'll see. We'll see. I've been waiting for a big shot of funding for 20 years to find out if that's what is going to happen. So I guess we'll find out now, and we'll keep you apprised of that. We monitor the caseload every month to see what those increases are, and it's I can't really say that we really know that there's a good flow. You know, one year you may have you may have 50 more people that are engaging with the program, and the next year it drops off and you can't really put your finger on it. It's really just based on what people's needs are at the time. Jump over to the operational costs. So we look at this project in one way. There's one budget amount, and then there's the operational costs that are the staff who are working directly with consumers, helping them flesh out those independent living goals, figure out what the barriers are, come up with what some solutions are going to be. Is it modification? Is it equipment? Then looking at those options and resources. If the person has insurance or has Medicaid or is a veteran, there may be some options in there that they need to look at. There may not, and for the most part, when we're talking about home access modifications, there's not any options unless you're like a full veterans. What do they call it? Full covered veteran injured in the service typically doesn't cover anything. The only other options, I think, on the physical disability waiver through Medicaid, it covers about $3,200 towards home modification. So there's not a lot there. So that's what the staff will be doing. That's about that typically comes to 25 to 27% of the total budget. The remaining amounts of those funds are we call direct services. All of those funds are directed directly to contractors, vendors to purchase the AT and AT services. Any questions over the budget or any of that stuff? It's pretty straightforward. And if there's any questions, again, people just reach out to me directly and we can go over any part of the full report if you get a chance to look at it later. I'm going to highlight a couple of the things about the satisfaction and life impact survey, because these are this is the really important stuff. The survey data and people that have accomplished their independent living goals is the importance. That's why this program exists, is to address those issues and keep people living in the community. Satisfaction is important. If the people are satisfied with their staff that they worked with, and if they're overall satisfied with the program. So there's 2 satisfaction questions in our survey that we send out to everybody. I like these numbers because 98% come in as either excellent or very good. 92% excellent, 6% very good. That's 98% positive, very good or excellent, that they worked with the staff well. The other one's overall satisfaction. Again, we're 98%. 92% very satisfied, 6% mostly satisfied. One of the questions is about choice and control over the goals you set and the types of services you received. The questions are, did you feel like you had a lot of control and choice, quite a bit of control and choice, a little control and choice, or not enough control and choice? 77% said they had a lot of control and choice. 21% said quite a bit of control and choice. There was, looks like 2%, sorry, one person that said they didn't have enough control and choice. Again, 98% of the respondents felt that they had positive choice and control. The next pieces are life impacts. These are also part of the survey. Did the services make a positive impact on your life? 98%, yes. Did services impact your life? Your overall quality of life improve? 71% said improved a lot. 23% said quite a bit. Only 6%, actually there's only one real negative, and that's 2% said it did not change. 4% 4% said improved a little. So only a little improvement, but still 94% of that is highly positive. Overall, independence related to goals established, 76% said it improved a lot, 20% improved quite a bit. Again, where the 96% are on the high positive side of that. My chances of staying out of a nursing home improved a lot, 70%, improved quite a bit, 15. That's 85% of the respondents have a positive outlook staying out of the nursing home. We ask questions like, are the devices used daily, weekly, monthly? 98% again, 92% daily, 6% weekly. I think that speaks to the necessity of the equipment. I know where I wouldn't be here if I wasn't using my wheelchair, right? If I didn't have hand controls in my vehicle to drive here, I wouldn't be here today either, given this report. But anyways, there's additional stuff in the full report regarding the satisfaction and consumer impacts. A little bit about the caseload. Again, looking at it from October through June, we had 282 consumers active during this time. And active means that they have independent living goals and a plan, or they have waived the plan. Either way, there's independent living goals established with that person, and they're working towards achieving those goals. 190 of those consumers we carried over from last year. So that's what we talk about, like that wait list, right? Those are people that didn't get all of their goals met and things addressed in prior years. We had 92 new consumers accessing the program so far this year. So as far as the next part is like the active and wait list. Active, what we call an active caseload is when we identify that we have the funding, right? As of July 1, we know how much money we have. I went over that in the report. It's $900,000, I think, that is going to be going towards direct services, and that doesn't include the portion that Care Chest was able to obtain. But we look at these estimated costs every time that somebody has a goal, and we get to the point where we've identified what that solution is. You know, is it a ramp? Is it widening the door? Is it a piece of equipment that's going to help remove the barrier for that person so that they can achieve the goal? Once we've done that and the consumer says, yes, this, you know, I'm on board, this is what we need to do, and we need to get this ramp built, at that point we can estimate a cost. We don't have the contractor's quote in hand, by the way, but we have some pretty good information to know roughly what that's going to cost, and we plug those in there. And that's kind of how we are able to move forward in the wait list. We don't want to tell a consumer, yes, we're moving forward, and then 3 months later say we're out of money. So we spend a lot of time looking at this data and making sure that we're not jumping too far ahead. At this point in time, we got 110 active consumer cases open. That's where we think we're going to be able to serve them this year. We have 60 people waiting, 60 people that are currently waiting. And like I said, everybody that's engaging with the program from this point forward is probably going to hit that wait list until we get those additional ARPA dollars. There's also 14 consumers pending. That means that we're just waiting for them to sign off on their independent living plan and send it back. So that would probably bump that wait list up to 75. The next part is kind of our goal areas. The goal areas that are kind of established for this, that are independent living goal areas, primarily self-care, mobility, transportation, those are lumped together in the federal reporting, and then community-based living, communication, and then also information access to technology. You've probably heard me give this report before. Self-care remains has always been the #1 area that people have needs. 49% of the goals set. So of all the goals that have been open during this time period, 422 independent living goals revolve around self-care. That's bathing, toileting, personal hygiene, eating, cooking, transferring. Still the number one area where people need the most help is addressing those self-care needs. The next is mobility and transportation. That's 21% of all the goals set fit in there. And primarily, we do need to find a way to separate this out to know what's really mobility without looking at each individual one. But I can tell you that the majority of those are people looking for personal transportation options that aren't looking, that they're looking for an ability to access their own vehicle, whether they're driving themselves or having somebody drive them. They're trying to find a way that they can access that with their mobility device or get into the vehicle with their disability. That's 184 goals that revolve around that. Not saying there aren't people with mobility, specific mobility needs. They're looking for a wheelchair or some specific type of device that's going to help them get around. But there are resources for that, and that's why we don't see that, right? Medicare, Medicaid, insurance. Care Chest does a durable medical equipment program. While maybe not ideal to get the wheelchair that you need for your everyday use, if you're a wheelchair user like myself that uses one constantly, but there are options out there, and that's why we don't see a lot of goals there. Again, we're filling gaps here, and the data kind of shows you there is a gap there to finding personal transportation that's accessible. Third down the road is community-based living. That and mobility transportation are very close. 21% of all the goals set. And community-based living is primarily addressing accessing your home, getting in and out of it and through the home. If you can't get through doorways, if you can't get in and out of your house, you're probably at a high risk of going into a care facility, because how are you getting groceries? How are you doing everyday tasks and living? But it's not always just accessing putting a ramp into the house. There's complex issues. There's how do I do my laundry? All of those things require us to be able to access parts of the house. And if you have a mobility disability, you're going to find those barriers and need to be able to access to those areas. Last, we have some communication goals. About 6.6% are communication, and that's hearing and speaking. That's not addressing people getting on the phone or any of those types of services, but it's personal conversations and ability to have speech, right? Last but not least, the information and access to technology goals. These are kind of titles that are established federally, and that's why I'm kind of given that description. These are barriers that could be related to, say, vision loss, controlling one's environment, being able to adjust your thermostat and lighting. Those areas, if it wasn't tied directly to a self-care, it'd be found in a self-care area. But these are ones that may not fit into something like a self-care or a mobility area. And they can be unique, right? Being able to adjust your lighting, or being able to adjust your thermostat. If you can't reach up on the wall and grab the dial or push the button, pretty significant thing, especially if you have issues with heat and cold and whatnot. Kind of wrap that piece up there. Any questions regarding the caseload? I know I kind of blew through that. I don't see any hands up. All right. Overall, through the caseload period there are 858 different goals set. So back to the number of consumers that accessed the program and carried over from the previous year, what that equates to is 858 independent living goals. Percentage of those goals met so far is 36.6. There's 51% of those goals that are in progress. We also track people that have withdrawn from their goals. We also have the ones that are closed because we're unable to contact the person. People that have passed away while their goals were still open, and then also track if a solution was not available. All of that information is in the full report. Closures, we had 113 cases closed so far. Typically in the next couple months, we'll see a number of closures increase. That's usually because you're at the end of your state fiscal year. A lot of projects are getting wrapped up and done. Don, I see your hand up.
Yeah, thanks. This is Dawn Lyons. Just probably a morbid question, but have you ever noticed that, or is there any way that you guys can follow up to tell if any of those individuals who may have passed away in direct relationship to not having their goals met?
I think that's a good question. I think I would hear about it from the independent living specialist that followed up with. You would typically find that out from a family member, right? They would be reaching out. Part of this whole process is engaging with that consumer and developing a relationship. So I think we would hear about it, but we don't specifically ask. I would imagine that if the case closed and they said, oh, you know, the consumer fell down those steps and broke their neck, we should have already identified that and made it a priority, right? That's the training that we work with Care Chest significantly to say, if there's, you know, if you feel that needs to be prioritized, and that's based on what that consumer has for resources, right? That's resources, I'm talking family, friends, what's going on there? Because we find consumers that say, you know, it's really not that bad, and then you go and meet with the person and you're like, you're on the verge, man. You know, one trip down those stairs or you take a tumble and end up in a care facility. I mean, I think everybody probably understands pretty well that series of events, specifically when you're in a apartment or something, right? You end up in a care facility and you're there for 60 days, right? Your income, if you're on Social Security, gets converted to a care. This is where people get institutionalized. I mean, we should be. I'm sure everybody understands how those series of events happen, but that's what we're supposed to be identifying and trying to prevent, if at all possible, right? Somebody ends up breaking something and ends up in a care facility for 90 days, they're probably going to lose their apartment. Now you're looking at spending a year or more trying to help that person transition out. That's the purpose of this program, hence why it had Olmstead implications back in its day, right? Kind of an important thing to look at, because like you said, if a person, I would hope that we're not losing people because they didn't get the services, but we should be identifying it. Back to answering your question, no, we don't ask any specific questions, but I am confident that if it was related to one of their independent living goals, we would know about it. And it would get reported back to me by the staff at Care Chest. Thank you. Don just showed everybody how easy it is to get me off track on some other subject, asking a question. Finally, I'll just kind of wrap up with this. The last part is our tracking of the call data. And that's just people accessing the program. And during this time period, we had 211 different calls logged. Those are conversations with either consumer or whoever's calling. What I look at when I'm looking at this is what's the percentage of people that are calling that are either the consumer or have the authority to be engaging on the consumer's behalf, a parent, somebody that is able to be involved in there. Our protocol, by the way, is that even if the consumer representative is, technically has the authority to be having the conversation, is to have the consumer involved as well. Have the consumer on the call. We ask that they should be engaging with them and asking them, where is the consumer in this? If we're going to have this conversation, let's have it with the consumer in the room, because regardless of if you're have the authority to be their representative, we're still going to be engaging with the consumer to make sure that they're on board. So that is happening from day one when the phone gets picked up. The calls from consumer, that's 103, so slightly over half of just under half of the calls are from the consumer. 79 calls from consumer representatives. Those are people with authority. Calls from non-representatives, somebody without authority, do-gooder, a neighbor, a family member calling on behalf, 21 of those calls. And hopefully I'm not like over simplifying it, but when I look at that data, it tells me that we're doing the right type of outreach, right? We're having consumers and people with authority calling us. We don't have it, and we don't want to talk to the neighbor, right? If we talk to the neighbor, I'm glad that they found our information, but please have that person give us a call. The program, we look at the information going out based on that telephone call. The way I designed the calls section is to record some information, and we kind of put them into different buckets, like a program applicant information packet, we call it. It's like a simple little survey to help somebody kind of stir up their brain, right? Go through it and look at it. The idea is like to do a self-assessment of basically from when you wake up in the morning until you go to bed at night. What are the areas that you struggle in? Are you able to get in and out of bed? Do you want to change something about it? There's about 2 pages worth of, page and a half of questions that we're asking you to do a little self-evaluation. So you're starting to think about what those daily barriers that you have are, and do you want to address them? And if you go down this pathway, then you've said, I want to develop independent living goals, and I want to put a plan, or whether they waive a plan or not, we have to establish those independent living goals with them and figure out what they're trying to accomplish. 139 of the people that called during this time said that they did want to do that. They wanted to start independent living goals, and they went down this pathway of doing the self-assessment. Not all of them become consumers. I reviewed those calls, and I try to figure out why somebody didn't engage with us, or they came in and they said that they did want to do this, and then we can't reach them ever again. It's just the nature. If I ever find the magical pill of why things don't happen, I'll let you in on it. But I mean, sometimes I'll randomly go look at why a person didn't return their PIP. And you find interesting stuff sometimes. People that met their own goals somehow, right? They came in and started engaging you about something, and then the follow-up afterwards was, hey, I figured out a way to get in my house. I ended up getting a ramp somewhere. Those are positive. The other ones are that big question, right? I'm looking at this number in front of me that says 33 of those people didn't respond. And they said they had independent living goals that were affecting their essential daily living. And we couldn't get a hold of them again. That just doesn't seem right. But, we do follow up with them once that initial conversation, and we send them that information, and then we follow up with them an additional time and say, hey, if you need some help, let us know. But if not, we're going to have to close this call at some point, but you can call back at any time. Essentially, that number comes back to 33 people didn't follow through with engaging the program. We also have people that start through and start developing those independent living goals and then withdraw for some reason afterwards. Our lives get complicated, and there's reasons behind each one of them. But I can't say that I've got any big gap that you can identify and say, well, this is a big barrier here, and we have people that are choosing not to develop those independent living goals and withdrawing. Dawn?
Thanks. This is Dawn Lyons. John, not to get you off track again, I've just a quick question with a quick answer needed. Do you have the percentage, or did I miss it? Maybe you said it, but do you have the percentage of individuals who go through the IL program that actually create an independent living plan?
I don't have it in the report. To be honest with you, there's probably less than 5% waive the plan. An independent living plan, for as far as when we're engaging with the consumer, the independent living plan in the world we live in is laying out those steps of who's doing what and when, right? Many of the steps are even it may be the same. Identifying what those barriers are, meeting with the consumer. So it's a minimal amount. I don't have it in the report, but at my fingertips, if you gave me 5 minutes, I could pull the information for you. It's in your federal report, how many of those plans, how many waivers and how many, and I want to say that we're always, you always have 1 or 2 people a year that don't want to have all of those steps written in there. And that's their portion of the plan. In the world that we live in this AT for IL, we still have those steps in place for the staff. The staff still have to go through this process, right? They're still going to have to make sure that they're supporting the consumer in those steps. So ultimately, from the staff side of things, there's still always a plan in place. We have to have a plan of how we're going to assist the consumer with achieving their goals.
Yeah, I don't think 5 more minutes.
5 more minutes?
Yeah, or less. Preferably less.
All right. I always use up all my time. So anyways, I am wrapping up here shortly, and then I got to go briefly into the blind services pilot program. All in all, with our call information, 482 referrals made to other resources in those engagements and calls. Technical assistance was provided to 48 consumers. And then potential goal areas. What we do in that call section is the staff is, after they've engaged with this person, they're recording down how many of those potential goal areas, like just based on what the consumer is saying, that this is an appropriate place for the person to be calling, right? We could help them in some fashion. And that's just in that calls piece, we've identified 336 goals that we know that we should be working on. That doesn't mean the consumer ends up becoming a consumer or not, but we are trying to look at that data and really get an idea. How many people could we be working with if they chose to go forward? That's it for the AT for IL program. Now I'm going to touch base just briefly on the blind services pilot program, which is really the recommendation of creating a program that's going to operate for a year. I just would really like to give a big shout out to everybody that took the time and talked to me. I talked to a lot of people and I learned a lot of information. There's just so much that you need to understand when you're engaging with people with disabilities in general, and then to delve into an area that's not a disability that I share. It was really interesting, but there's so much you need to consider there. When sight was lost, what level of sight is lost, and where people are at in their life when they've lost sight. All of these things are almost overwhelming, the amount of information that you end up getting. But ultimately, in the end, the major gaps that still exist and have pretty much since Dieter and vocational rehab removed those services are the need for orientation mobility training. My recommendation back to ADSD is going to be to put resources into supporting orientation mobility training and also assistive technologies that the person can access more immediately. We are serving people through the ATIL program, but that's where that 18-month waiting list is. it makes more sense to just supplement and make some adjustments to the policy of that ATIL program, and anybody throughout the state would be able to access that. So that's what the recommendation back to ADSD is going to be, is supporting those orientation mobility training that's been missing for people without a vocational goal. And to explain that just a little bit more, if you're not 55 and older and you can access the Older Blind program or Older Blind Independent Living through DETR, or you don't have a vocational goal and you live in Nevada, there's no orientation and mobility training except for through Raquel's program that she's been operating down there, and actually Raquel's the one that brought a lot of these issues up in her work, is that major gap down there. Not just down there, anywhere in the state of Nevada. If you say you don't have a vocational goal, you're not going to be able to get that type of training. So I would like to have a little more clean information. There was also some talk about where do people go if they lose their sight later in life. This is a big question. Where should we point those people? In my mind, it's a Center for Independent Living. Everybody should know to call a Center for Independent Living if they have a disability. But over time, it doesn't look like that's really what happens in the area of vision loss. The doctors are typically referring them just to like a provider that sells them some equipment. There's not a lot of information there, and this is something that Raquel had brought up, that there's really no massive effort in educating and going out and providing training to doctors' offices or some of those areas. And so that would be another piece of it. That technically, I don't think it would need to go through the ATIL program, but something needs to be done there. But first and foremost, you got to figure out where you're going to have those referrals made to. You know, that's the hard part there. If somebody starts a group and a small nonprofit, you're fragmenting everything. So something to bring up to the SILC and have some more discussion about, like, where should people be directed to? And that's about it. Anybody have any questions for me?
Thank you, John.
Thank you. And I think I used a little more than the 5 minutes that Julie gave me, but that's what I do. Thank you, everybody. And again, I'm going to throw my email in the chat. If anybody has any questions about either program data or other things related to assistive technology or the ATAC programs, other ATAC programs, please give me a shout and we'll go over them. Thank you.
Thank you. Raquel, are you still? Do we see?
I think she is. Raquel? She may be distracted. I'm not.
Raquel. I don't see you.
Could you repeat that for us? Who are you looking for?
Raquel.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Julie.
Okay. We'll get to her tomorrow, I guess. I think she's Sandra. Is she here?
This is Dawn Lyons. I don't believe Dr. Cosgrove is present today.
Yeah, I did see her. Okay, we're right along. Even if that's possible, could you do your report in 10 minutes?
Stephen, did you hear that?
Sorry about that. We're on the legislative subcommittee.
Well, so this is Dawn Lyons. I just wanted to clarify that Julie asked if you can give your report in 10 minutes, because that's all we have left.
Because we're not required to do public comment and then send it each day.
Can I do it in one? Can we send out the
How about-
DD council?
How about this, Julie? This is Dawn. Just a suggestion is that maybe he can get started and we can continue with his agenda item tomorrow, if that's okay, if he can't finish in 10 minutes.
Yeah, we can do that. Because, yeah, like I said, we need to leave time for public comment. So why don't you get started, Steven?
Sure, so I can make it a lot shorter than 10 minutes. The DD council has a very robust bill status report, which I think we could probably send out to the members. Is that fair assessment?
Yeah.
So this is Dawn Lyons. There was a lot that we had a very, very aggressive agenda at our last legislative subcommittee meeting. I'm assuming that was your update, Stephen, and that's what you wanted to leave it at, but I really think it's important to let people know that if you missed the legislative subcommittee meeting, no summary could possibly give you all the information that we got at that meeting. So
yeah,
it's really important if you're interested to attend those meetings, even if you don't want to participate, you just want to listen in, that's fine. But I just thought I'd mention that as well. And that report can be sent out. And if anyone has any questions specifically about that legislative subcommittee agenda, or if anything was discussed from that agenda, you can reach out to Stephen or me.
And
good.
And if there's like one, if you had to choose one big thing, what would you say to us, Steve?
Sorry, I missed about half of that.
If you had to choose one takeaway from this legislative session, what would you say the takeaway is?
People with disabilities had a very good session, including having a Bill of Rights now, accessible museums, sub-minimum wage phase out. Those are just some of the examples of things that passed this session. And we're not done yet.
Never done. Does anyone have any questions for Steven?
This is Dawn Lyons. One last thing is we're looking at the next legislative subcommittee meeting for the working on interim projects for the next session to prepare for it. Stephen, do you have that date off the top of your head?
Even for the record, Thursday, December 14th at 1 o'clock.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Let's see. We have like 5 minutes before public comment.
So this is this is Dawn Lyons. Can maybe I could just make a suggestion that we could go down to one of the easier.
That's what I was looking at. Which one would you like to do?
I think probably the discussion and approval of SILC Policy and Procedure Manual, 12th edition, number 19 would be easy enough to get through.
Yes, could you speak on that, please?
Yes, so we had some complaints about our policy regarding our travel advances. Not that we can't have our own supplemental policy, but we do still have to follow the Aging and Disability Services policy when traveling under Aging and Disability Services authority. So what I did was I worked with Aging and Disability Services Fiscal Department to come up with some language that we both could agree on that was a little bit more descriptive, so that it was really clear to anyone who travels with SILC and receives a travel advance understands what those policies are. And so I'm just gonna read it real quick. Just the portion that I'm adding to our SILC policies and procedures. It's the last paragraph on page 13 of our policy and procedure manual. And it says, as a courtesy, each year, Aging and Disability Services Administrator evaluates the option to provide SILC members with a special 100% travel advance whenever the travel might cause financial hardship. Any individual who receives a travel advance agrees to pay back the portion ADSD calculates as the overage from the allowed travel amount after all expenses have been considered. Upon returning from the approved travel, SILC members who receive an advance have 5 days to submit their return paperwork with receipts, etc., in accordance with ADSD's policy. At the time notice is sent regarding any balance owed to ADSD, the member will have no more than 30 days to repay that balance owed to ADSD. If for any reason the member does not repay ADSD by the 30th day of notice, that individual will no longer be allowed to receive advances for SILC travel and may jeopardize the following year's approval for future advances. Due to the potential loss of this important option, the individual will be given a formal warning for violating SILC's Code of Ethics and could potentially be sent to collections if the debt has still not been paid after 90 days. The specific violation is, number 1, I will uphold and enforce all laws, rules, and regulations that apply to the recipients of federal funds and to the SILC, unquote.
Is there any discussion?
So this is Dawn Lyons again. I guess if there aren't questions or any discussion, what I'd like to hear now is a motion to approve the SILC Policy and Procedure Manual 12th edition.
I Hi, go ahead, Peter. I'll second it.
I wasn't going to move to approve, as a matter of fact. I was maybe for a conversation. This is Peter, for the record, Peter Whittingham, member for the record. Dawn, I'll bring your attention especially to this sentence that start, if for any reason the member does not repay by 30 days, the individual will no longer be allowed. So it seems as if for any reason, maybe a little bit broad, there can be, even beyond our immediate reach, circumstances, mitigating circumstances. So can we say if there's no reasonable explanation, or maybe look at that a little bit more to word it in such a way that it's not so extreme, and it provides for that the member would have no explanation, there are no redress, because regardless of the reason, if it's not paid, then the consequence would follow. I want to take another look at that and see perhaps if we can word it differently.
This is Dawn Lyons. That's a good point, Peter, and one that I argued that the SILC felt strongly about as well. However, Aging and Disability Services is allowing us a 100% travel advance, and no one else gets that. No one else does. And that's only under financial hardship circumstances. So if you receive money from Aging and Disability Services and you don't spend more than what you're allowed to spend, you should have no problem paying that back. I understand if you're, I get what you're saying, like say you get hospitalized, you can't, pay the bill back in time. It's really not the SILC's policy. It's Aging and Disability Services policy. That's the Aging and Disability Services part. So really, we can't change that. All we can do is add our own supplement that if you don't pay within 90 days after that, then you could be sent to collection and you would be given a formal warning from the SILC if not removed from the council. And that's really what we're saying here. That's our policy. The rest of this is Aging and Disabilities policy. And so we kind of have to follow their rules because they're the ones providing the authority for the travel advance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand the send to collection part. My question to you is it a specific language in the Aging and Disability policy that if for any reason the member does not pay for 30 days notice? That's a question. Is that specific language there if for any reason, or is there some other conditional? We're codifying a matter for which our member would be sanctioned, and it would have some implications on the individual person. And I'm speaking for general consideration at this time. Of course, not myself included. I want to make it clear, but I'm just thinking as we're writing this as a policy, is that are we saying that we're adopting the exact language from ESD, or is that inserted by us to ensure that payment is made?
So this is Dawn Lyons. The Aging and Disability Services policy doesn't have something specifically in writing in regards to when it comes to travel advances for council members. They do have something in writing when it comes to staff members, and staff members, if we don't pay back in 30 days, our paychecks get docked basically until they get paid back. And so Aging and Disability Services fiscal is dictating this rule to us to put in our policies because it's not fair for a state employee to not have a choice in paying it back, and this council member does. So I'm not saying that Aging and Disability Services would be completely unreasonable if there were an actual crisis that came up that you have a valid reason for being late, but I can't say that for them. I can't speak for them. All I know is that fiscal has given us this language, has approved this language for their portion of the policy, because it really does. If you don't pay it back within their policy term, then it puts us all at jeopardy for not being able to receive a travel advance in the future.
The bottom line is we don't get a choice. And in light of the
Didi, I default to you.
Because is somebody ready to make a motion, please?
Commander Davis, I move that we make a motion to accept the new policy.
Thank you, Commander.
And I will second it. This is Dee Formaster.
Marvelous. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thanks for the explanation, Dawn. Appreciate it.
Anybody against? Motion carries. Okay, now we've reached the end of day one. Is there any public comment?
Julie, this is Dawn Lyons. I have to read the.
Oh,
public
yeah,
comment.
thank you, Dawn.
Can I get there? Okay. No action may be taken upon a matter raised under public comment period unless the matter itself has been specifically included on an agenda as an action item. To provide public comment telephonically, dial 1-253-215-8782 US Tacoma. When prompted to provide the meeting ID, enter 929-904-1434. The password for phoning in is 707-401. Comments will be limited to 5 minutes per person. Persons making comment will be asked to begin by stating their name for the record and to spell their last name and provide the secretary with written comments.
With that in mind, is there any public comment? John?
Hello, John Roseland for the record. I just wanted to shout out and say that the Nevada Assisted Technology Council meeting will be later this month. If anybody's interested in being involved in that, meetings typically, the agenda has not been posted yet, but it will probably be slated for to start at 10 a.m. I think they run upwards of, could run 2 hours, 4 hours, depending on what the agenda that comes out, but it will be on the 27th of July, starting at 10 a.m. based on past meeting agendas. So I encourage people to be involved in that. If you're looking for more information or want to kind of know more about the Assistive Technology Council, feel free to reach out to me. We have information we can provide you, point you to some of our federal some of our federal technical assistance folks have written up some information about being on that advisory council. But encourage people to get involved with that as well if you are an assistive technology user and or want to learn more about it. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Anybody else?
This is Dawn Lyons. I just wanted to ask Carly Murray a question she had in the chat about will the report be available to the public? Carly, was that the independent living AT for IL report that you were talking about?
No, sorry. I meant when Stephen was mentioning about the legislative subcommittee. And he said he would send the report. I want to find out if that was only for council members or if it was available to the public.
Yes, so thank you for that. This is Dawn Lyons. We don't have it yet, but I'm assuming that Stephen is going to share that with us within the next 24 hours, according to open meeting law. And we will post that on our website with all of our meeting materials. How's that?
That's great. Thank you.
Okay. Any public comment? Being none, we shall see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Have a good evening, folks. And thank you for hanging in there. And thank you for interpreters and our class captioners.